Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Death or Glory issue 1 from Image Comics. With a cover price of $5, you're thinking, I don't know, this looks like a Speed Racer nonsense knockoff. Nope, that would be better. So we start out in Yuma, Arizona at a place called Burger Boss, where a couple of guys are talking about the one guy's date, and apparently she's a bit of a dirty girl, and she likes to tongue butter the turtle cave. It gets a little more graphic than that. Some guy comes in and says, hey man, I need 123 cheeseburgers, and they're like, but we're closing in 5 minutes, and then a customer gets up and says something and grabs the guy's arm, and then he responds by spraying this thug in the face with liquid nitrogen, and his face falls off. Then he murders the cashier, and the other guy, it later tells us, is also murdered after he apparently makes the order. So this issue is titled She's Got You, and we've got a white page with lots of room on it, but only a few names. Remander is the writer, Bengal artist, Wutan letterer, Gierner editor, Snatch's production designer. I know who Remender is, that's Rick Remender. I don't know who any of these other people are. Sorry, they only gave me their last names. Apparently they all think they're incredibly famous, and we should all know who they are, and I don't. Well, then we get to a lady constructing a vehicle, and this is Glory Owens, and she is, of course, a dyed-in-the-wool feminist because she don't need no man, and she's got the hair bandana that looks like it's from the 40s, and of course, because, she's a strong, independent woman with tattoos and a 1940s look, that she obviously is, of course, a total mechanic and gearhead, because that makes sense. And she narrates something in a tape recorder while she is welding, which obviously the writer's never done any welding because it's kind of loud. And then she takes a bath. It turns out this guy Red, who is some sort of father figure, I don't know if it's her dad or not, is dying of liver failure, and they need a liver. I don't know. You can't buy livers, that's illegal, so I don't know how she's planning on getting it, but apparently she needs money, and it's probably just for medical bills, but it's very nebulous. So she has this red case with the gun on it, and she gets out of the bathtub and picks up the gun. We have some partial nudity. Then she points the gun in the mirror and throws up, and that was disgusting. I did not want to see some girl puking all over the place. Well, then she does some self-validation to reassure herself that everything is justifiable. Then she gets in her car and goes to the truck stop where she meets a bunch of friendly locals and truckers, teamsters, bikers, and drifters. She calls her family. So a bunch of questionable moral people. Then we learn about some guy that's running an exchange of some kind, or of course the local cops are on the take, and they're going to do the exchange for this guy who is just super mega evil, and he looks all sinister and whatnot. And one of the cops wants to keep the money because he's a plucky young guy. He knows the guy who's sending them on the mission, and he didn't like him or something. I don't care. Well, that's when they get attacked by the girl, and she tries to run him off the road. They shoot at her, but apparently her windshield's bulletproof. Whatever. Then she's like, it's all going according to plan, until oncoming traffic shows up, and that foils her plan. And the cops lead her down into what looks like airport junkyard, where a bunch of airplanes are. And she wrecks the police car and then points a gun at him and says, give me the package. And then she gets shot when she turns her back on two armed men. That is just amateur hour. So now that she's wounded, she has to go on a full sprint. Good luck with that one. And we have to suspend some disbelief, and then suddenly that guy from the beginning of the story shows up and elbows her in the face. How he knew to be there, I don't know, but he tries to take the satchel back with the money in it, and in the process of fighting with her, she separates the hose of his tank, and it releases a bunch of nitrogen on him and screws up his arm, but it also destroys the briefcase and the money. Even though the money was inside the case, it should have realistically just destroyed the case. And then the cop sees her, knows who it is, and goes running after her. And then she, I guess, hits him with a truck. It's a little vague, but it looks like she ran over him, but he's still alive. So it's an 18-wheeler. I don't know how that happened. Well, she thinks that she's going to sell the drugs then, and she does some really lame problem solving, and she hears some noises, so she looks in the back, and it's full of brown people. I don't know. It looks like some sort of human trafficking, and they all look like they're probably from South America or something. There's no date on when this occurs. Is this modern? I don't know. The art is okay for the style it's in. It's not bad. I didn't hate it. Not really something I particularly like. I don't like the pseudo manga stuff, but for what it is, it's well done. My problem is that it was boring. I just didn't care. There had no reason to like any of these people. As far as I can tell, they're all criminals. She's trying to rob a drug dealer so she could get money for some guy that lives off the grid. For what purpose, I'm not real sure, because you can't buy human organs, and she says that he's been turned down for like medical service because he owes the doctors money. I'm pretty sure that's illegal in this country, despite what propaganda would tell you. Yeah, he doesn't have insurance, but he could go on Medicaid. She says he doesn't have a social security number, but every American citizen has a social security number. He's just going by the name Red. He has a real name, he's just not giving it out. So that's his own fault. I don't know, it's just, it's like a really bad grindhouse action movie. It has a real 70s feel to it, and it makes about as much sense as some of those old grindhouse movies did. There's a lot of needless swearing, like they threw in swearing to be edgy or something, and it was just lazy. I wouldn't call it an SJW book, I would just call it lazy. So it could have been interesting, but some of the art's kind of cartoony, and that kind of takes away from the serious tone they were going for, I think. And it's I don't know, the pacing's a little off. I didn't really find myself caring about any of the characters. They're all pretty unlikable. The two guys working at the restaurant at the beginning of the book were way more interesting than anyone else, and they both died. And pretty horrifically, too. Like, the whole thing talking about tongue-buttering turtle caves was unnecessary. There's a lot of unrealistic dialogue. It's got, like, movie mentality where, oh, we could just take the money and run. No, you don't go around ripping off human traffickers. That's a terrible plan. So everybody's kind of dumb. The guy in the trench coat lost an arm. I'm not entirely sure what that was all about or what that guy's role is. They don't really elaborate on anything. There's no depth to the characters. It's a thick book for $5. There's a lot of pages here, and if you like this style of art, I mean, some of it is really good. Some of it's just kind of mediocre to me. Facial expressions are weird. They're very anime manga style, and I don't like that. But overall, the art is, I would say, good for the style it's in. It's just, I don't find it interesting, and the story is boring. I don't care about these people. I know nothing about them. There's nothing to make me care about this guy that refuses to give his personal information so he can get medical treatment, and it doesn't explain why this girl isn't trying to go through legal means to get him help. It just has the feel of a low budget, poorly written movie. So if that's the type of thing you're in the mood for, this will probably be okay, but I don't think I'll pick up issue 2. It's very forgettable. I don't find myself feeling like it's something I care about. I'm just gonna pass. It had potential, but it really just didn't have the depth that was needed to grab my attention. The amount of dialogue was fine, shockingly, but I don't know really who most of these people are. I only know the name Rick Remender from a few years ago. I've heard it several times, but I don't know anything about him. And the other people didn't bother to list their first names, so I wouldn't recognize them or be able to look them up. So I don't really care. If they don't want to bother to put their names on it, it's probably not worth buying. So I would say pass on this one, but that's just me. So that's my take on it. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Be sure and hit like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. Hopefully we'll see you on the next episode.